On this video, I'd like to share with you a review. A review about a very short crash review. The idea is just to let you know what's inside the book. If you are interested to buy the book, or even you are looking for literature for the topic of mathematical biology. I believe that it's a nice book. It has its advantage like any book. I do believe that there is no perfect book, because the writer is always under limitation, even because of the publishing company, and even because of its own bias or limitation. We are not perfect. And nowadays I have attended several summer schools about mathematical biology. I have been studying mathematical biology, my master's degree, and has been working with biomathematics and mathematical biology. And what I can see that in the majority of the case, people, when they present a very difficult problem, and this problem has to be solved by numerical simulation. This means that the computer will do all the job, will do all the work. However, when you are learning, it's very important that you do it step by step, such as when you are learning numerical approach. It was my case. I hated it, but I believe it was the best. Professor asked us to solve by hand. Most of the numerical approach is very boring and tedious, but it really helps you to learn. So basically, it's important that when you are learning something new, especially something very abstract at the moment, such as mathematical biology, I believe that not everyone is quite sure about what it does and what is mathematical biology. It's like an area that people, by the name, they will guess that's application of just application of biology, of mathematics to biology. However, I believe that's more than that. And I was this recent discussion with let's say a colleague, a colleague of mine, someone that I met in a summer school, and the discussion was basically about the difference between mathematical biology and system biology. System biology is a new branch of can say biomathematics, and the idea is a little bit complex to make differentiation, but I believe in this, and this professor also believe there is a difference, and however I believe that mathematical biology is a very important topic and still keep going on, and it has a high probability to survive all the change that happens in science as a whole. So basically the book is, you can see the reference here. This is the book that was published in 2003, and I believe that the book is not out of date, given what you want to do. It does not want. It's not a deep book. It's a book written by just like two authors. A deep book can be very difficult to read for someone that is starting their scientific career. And it is there are several huge amount of book I would say a considerable amount of book published recently in mathematical biology, especially because it is you can say the state of the art, and each of them has advantage. For example, a classic one is Murray, and it's called, the book's called mathematical biology, and the book has two editions, 1 and 2. And the one is just special, let's say one-dimensional problem, solved by ordinary differential equation. The part 2 is for partial differential equation, that is the temporal spatial problem, that have a temporal and a spatial component. This book is very small. This is one good point. This other book that I mentioned it's two Bibles, two very big book, and for someone that is starting, it can be a little bit difficult, and you can even get lost. This book here is very small. It's a book that you can carry with you wherever you want to go, and of course it pays the price, because it's a very complicated topic. If you create a very small and short book, it will certainly not be complete. But in the end, I believe that it's the price you pay. I think camera price, but it's a good book, and for someone that start their life and want to have a clear idea what's mathematical biology, I think it's a good starting point. One excerpt that I took from the book, it's a part of the book, and find inside the book that it's a very curious thing about applying mathematics, because besides you go to the lecture, the professor will teach you a huge amount of nice differential equation. It was my case as well. I spent like waking up 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning to study different equations. I solved all of them by hand. I remember that one homework I spent like let's say I solved like 200 problems. 200 problems, a lot of problems. It took me like let's say 1 month. It was a homework. Like I was the only one to be crazy to do that. In the end, you forget all the stuff. And however, even besides, in spite of the fact of all of this complexity, all this problem to have when you are in the bachelor, it's still true that most of the problem that you apply to biology, the equation will not, cannot be cannot be solved. So numeric approach in the end is the thing that is applied. However, this book, there is no code. I mean, there's some code in Mathematica, but let's say it's not a book that you can learn numeric approach applied to biology. I think this is one of the things that if you see another review of mine was about in another book that I read recently, I talk about the possibility to create a book about numeric biology and the biomathematics about numeric approach, and this I think is still lacking in literature. A book that is about numeric biology and teach you as well the numeric approach. I think this is one of the weakness of this book. It's also its strength because it makes you not to get lost about stuff that sooner or later you have to learn because you cannot escape. And the guy of that book I mentioned right now can see the review of the book. It's called the Introduction to Mathematical Physics. I think it is the topic, the name of the book. And the guy was incentivized by this because as he explains, most of the books and the class will teach a huge amount of mathematics applied to physics. However, in the end, they cannot solve the problem. So, but it's a time model, it's a starting point. So basically, let's say it was not clear in the past whether we could or not use the laws of physics applied to living system. It was not clear. It was even idea that the living matter was special. For example, Lavoisier believed that carbon could be just found in living matter. So in order to differentiate between living matter and dead matter, you had to see if carbon was present. However, in the future, as chemistry started to evolve, it was seen that carbon could be found even in substance that was not alive. It wasn't organic matter, it was inorganic matter. And there was a group of people in the past, I think it was the Vitalis group. They believed that there was special law for living system, and it was hanging out for a long time. Even in the time of Einstein, two stuff was not well completely understood. One of them was atom, that was let's say end up by the paper of Einstein, the Brownian motion, and the second one was about the living matter. The living matter took a little bit more, let's say, to be stopped. But even today, I have some friend of mine. I talked with them about my work in biomathematics. They still believe that you still have need a special law for living matter. Maybe one of the reasons that we besides all the accomplishment in biomathematics and the bioengineering and all this era, we still do not understand completely the picture. It's still incomplete. But I believe that it's a matter of point. Even physics had a time in which it was not sure. If you see the story of physics, it was not always this rational and precise science. It had a time in which people even thought, for example, the case of Aristotle, in the Eve Platon, that the idea that a stone fall because it's looking for this place in the earth. So the stone belongs to the earth. Newton, even the time of Newton, with the idea of conservation of momentum conservation, he believed that it was a way to the energy to go to God, because if you see that the equation of Newton does not necessarily explain where the energy goes, and in this case you need, for example, such as the equation of Einstein, transformation of energy, conservation of energy, and the step was not completely clear by the work of Newton. It's interesting to see that the majority of the problem in physics is still not it's not answered. They are think that it seems to be special for matter, and they still that I'll be a little bit curious, such as I was seeing recently, no, I mean, a kind of old documentary that I mean, I saw not recently. I saw it a long time ago, but I like to see it again and again because it's very nice. It seems to me that some scientists found that the brain is able to go backward in time. So it's a neuroscience work. If the brain can go backward in time, it's something like the brain is already a machine that can go backward in time. So quantum mechanics studies for this stuff that it can be backward in time, some molecular, electrons, and so on. And that it seems that the brain is already able to do that. Sometimes you take the action, but has already thought about that. So the only way that they believe it was somehow can go backward time. It's you can see it in a documentary called the Who You Are. It's a very nice documentary. Several scientists are gathered to talk about several topics such as biology, physics, and so on. Several people say that Schrödinger was one of the guys that he influenced that several biologists to start to use mathematics, and he was a book that was written by him. It's a very short book. This book was it came from a set of lectures given by Schrödinger himself, and it's very interesting because he was a physicist, a precise physicist. He was somehow influenced by Einstein, but he's from the another generation of Einstein. So he was, let's say, active when Einstein was not longer very active, and he was already talking about complexity and so on. On his book, you can even see some mention to stuff that today is very common, such as the study of the protein and so on. It's a very nice book. It's a very old, but it's still an interesting book to see. It's interesting to see that there's a fight between mathematicians, physicists, and biologists. At least it was in the past. For a biologist, the experiment is the most important thing. They make the experiment the one way to prove something. However, the experiment is done for every case. Physics, as you can see, for example, of the work of Einstein, for me it's a very nice example because I have been studying the life of Einstein, his work for a long time. Since I was like teenager, I like to study his life. Basically, Einstein, with his theory, he was able to gather different theory, was the Maxwell and Newton, and he was able to make prediction. And this prediction was confirmed by the Eclipse expedition. It was interesting because it was not based on the observation itself. It was based on theory. However, biology has not been like this. It's not like this. I mean, at the time myself, I has not seen a paper published in which a guy have done a very big theory just with theories behind that, and then someone prove it. It's not possible because biology is still very complicated. However, I think just a matter of time. We are going step by step, and maybe in a couple of decades, or maybe centuries, we will be able to work with the human body the same way that we have been work with the system around us, such as the sun, the earth, and so on. Some points about the book in this thing. It's not a difference between. There is a very strange fight in the literature about the names like mathematical biology, biomathematics, bioengineering, mathematical biology, theoretical biology. However, I always thought and still think that they are the same. They are just different manifestation of the same problem that was gathered in different areas, different people that they give a name. But if you see the book of mathematical biology, if you see a book about theoretical biology, you see that they are talking about the same thing. So I myself thought that biomathematics was supposed to be the big name, but however, this book, as you see it, put mathematical biology as a big name. For me, it's not different. It's important that we agree that they are the same. They are doing the same thing, so we should find agreement about that. Otherwise, have a huge amount of name. People think they're different, but they're not. The nice point of this book that they have several problems. For example, there's no problem about the physiology of the heart. You can find this in a book of mathematical physiology. So mathematical physiology study the physiology of the heart and so on, how to make mathematical model for that. And here you have in the book of mathematical biology. So I believe that's a nice point, that the book does not make difference between this name all over the literature. the properties are simple, so they are very. I mean, they're not. When I say simple, not because they're simple. They are somehow in a level of complexity that still can be solved by hand, and it can still be studied by, let's say, very nice techniques such as Taylor expansion and so on. So it's a nice book to take to the classroom and teach students, because it can give the student, at least in a small level, what is mathematical biology. Also very nice, because I had some lessons of mathematical biology in my master. It was very bad, in my opinion, because the professor started to talk about function analysis and so on. It makes you get lost. It makes you think that mathematical biology is mathematics itself. I mean, it's not. I mean, the book is very nice because the book keeps it simple. Provide an explanation of differential equations. This is very nice because of this, because there are several chapters about the original differential equation and so on, and several chapters about differential equation. So the book is short, but it still does not leave behind what's important for the student to know. So PD is a partial differential equation, very tough problem, and the book talks about it. So as you see, as I said, it was supposed to be very short review. I'm closing in, so I'm just ending up now the preview, the review. I will try to come back later if maybe if a special one chapter that I like the most, and trying to explain about it, and maybe it can be used for someone. But I have mentioned several books that can be interesting to be read together with the book. This one is about physics and medicine and biomedicine. It's a nice book because, as far as I understood, the book was written by doctors and so on. And this is nice because I saw this book first time when I was in Poland, in Gdansk, in the library. I was just seeing. It was nice because I found this book in the library of medicine. So it's a little bit interesting. This is a nice book. It's something about philosophy, and it explains how mathematical biology has evolved, the story of mathematical biology as a field and as you see it today. It's a very nice book as well. It's a kind of about system biology and so on. It's also a very interesting book because it tells about problems in the mathematical biology, how it evolved, changed, and so on. It's a nice book. It's a book a bit old, but it's nice because it's still, in my opinion, it's not outdated. You can still learn about this book. The book shows something that's very important to know. Science is, unfortunately, especially mathematical biology, it will be applied to the industry. You cannot avoid it. And even if when you ask for scholarship, people just find that it has application. However, there is always a problem of ethics and how to make the best application. It's not so easy and trivial as one might think. I believe the scientists tend to just to solve the problem, just to try to let's say, give the impression that he knows what he's doing. However, every work has a consequence, and this book talks a little bit about some consequences in the past, and I believe that you should be careful about, of course, like it was about, let's say, like what's happening with Einstein. We cannot control exactly what you do. I mean, his work somehow end up to be the atomic bomb. It was not his fault, in my opinion, but it was his contribution somehow, and he's not except. There are several examples as well. This book here is very nice for me because I think you should gather this book here if this one. If you do that, you have a very nice book about option control in life science. And if you are able to apply option control to all of the examples of this book, you have a very nice literature that for me to be very useful for people of engineering. This book here have used a lot in my last papers. And maybe one day in the future I would like to gather this one and see what happens. Do something very interesting to do. So I'll try to come back in the future with more discussion, and I hope that it has been useful discussion.